And this is the surprise. I was telling Lily before we came on air, I have a surprise for you, Lily, because you don't know this, but I actually mentioned you in my book. And I wanted, I think it is. And it is as like your official introduction on the channel. I just wanted to read from the book, the part where I talk about you, because I think it's just so perfect for the chat I hope we have today. It's in a chapter about just different tactics that you can use to fight back. And I said, in New Hampshire, everyone knows Lily Tang Williams. Lily is a Chinese immigrant and U.S. citizen who grew up in China during Mao's Cultural Revolution and works tirelessly on her mission to make sure Americans are aware of the similarities between what she experienced growing up and what she sees happening in America today. She gives radio interviews, speaks to community groups and school-age children, and is one of the loudest and most determined voices, and is now running for Congress, which I couldn't be happier about. Many people are afraid of what will happen if they speak up. Lily speaks up because she is afraid of what will happen if she does not. She is an example of Asian Americans who are rallying as part of the unwoke army, having direct experience with the damage this ideology can do. Lily started an organization called the New Hampshire Asian American Coalition and tirelessly advocated for the anti-CRT bill in New Hampshire in 2021, even successfully organizing a rally at the State House in Concord to encourage the passage of the bill, and shined a light on the dangers and reach of critical race theory in the Granite State. Welcome back, Lily, to the channel. We're so glad you're here. And Incognitos also says, Miss Lily Tang, fine example of the American dream.
Thank you. That was quite an introduction. I'm flattered. You are exactly right. That's why I'm running for U.S. Congress, because I fear the country I love is becoming more like the country I fled, China. This woke culture social justice movement just remind me the cultural revolution I survived when I was a child from 2 to 12 years old and continue years after that. So I had to finally just walk away from my native country, my family, my language, my friends to come to this country. That was like 2 months before my 24th birthday. Can you imagine that your first 24 years don't count because you are not even living and treated like a human being with dignity? And talk to me about real oppression, right?
Well, exactly. And one of the things you told me earlier today is you said you are the first Chinese woman from mainland China to run for Congress as a Republican. I thought that was fascinating.
Wow, that way. Well, the thing is, I think the current year we have two Chinese mainland men are running for Congress. One is in Florida, and a man, Chinese man. One is a Democrat, actually, is running in New York. And, per the Chinese consulate, anybody running for office in this country from China, doesn't matter which passport you have today, you need to subject to their, approval. But hey, who's going to tell me? Who's going to control me? I'm truly independent. That's where I can connect, really, truly represent the people of New Hampshire. I am me. What you say is what you get. I'm not belonging to any controllable, some kind of, elitist groups, or even including China, who can be very scary, who have spies, YouTubers, and cultural influence everywhere in this country. That's what I'm trying to study and stop it, because I need the poor Americans. And they're here. The communists are here.
Absolutely. It's scary. And, we had a great chat on the channel like a while back now, and I want to encourage everyone to go back and watch that chat. But Lily, could you just give us an overview of kind of like your history and your story and what you've been working on for the past, year plus?
Well, I was born in China, and I left when I was about 24. I went through the 10 years Mao's Cultural Revolution, and my first childhood memory, just imagine that. I saw military trucks and getting a whole bunch of black families, so-called, oppressors in the truck, going to public execution site. They look very pale, and the Red Guards were saying red songs inside the truck with the soldiers holding those people down. I was probably 4 or 5 years old, but that's what I deeply remembered. I don't want even to talk about that much, but now I have to face my past. And I come to this country with nothing. So couldn't speak English with only $100 borrowed. I owe my sponsor like $1,200 in debt. I had to be really determined to work hard, achieve my American dream, got my master's degree, got married, have kids, later got a layoff, start my own business, and learn English and learn about my new country's political system, become a volunteer, HOA board, charter school board, and the students in state capital as intern. I did all this things in order to become truly American, because I don't want to, lots of people who never adapted to their new country, they stay in their comfort zone. But I wanted to learn about my new country, even though I was indoctrinated for so many years. But I at least I was eager to learn. So when I woke up, basically 2008, 20 years later, after I come to America, I got rid of all my educational garbage I got from China. So I declared I'm truly independent now. And I see today what's going on in our country just really worries me.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And, I look at people like you and, you know my husband, Victor, and he kind of says similar things. Obviously, he's from Ukraine. He's not from China. But I feel like sometimes people who immigrate here, they have much more of appreciation for American values sometimes than the people who grew up here. And I think that, especially with what's going on in the schools, it really scares me that that students growing up today are being taught what a horrible racist country this is, when frankly, like, the American dream is still alive for people like you and for my husband who wanted to come here and work for it and put in the effort and all that. What you travel around to schools in New Hampshire and you tell them about your experience. What has been the reception like for you when you go into a school and you try to explain to these kids, here's what it was like where I grew up?
Well, I went to one charter school in Manchester, and other schools I went to, I just came back home actually from a charter school in North Carolina. I talked to 110 kids, and they did not know the details of the horrors of communism. And also today, the Chinese, like one-party dictatorship regime as a so-called second largest economy, and what they're doing today. So they just were shocked. But the charter schools are pretty good with their classical education curriculum. So they were very active to ask me questions. They come hug me, shake my hand, say, you're the best speaker we ever had. But I also went to some other traditionally public schools in some other states. And it's just shocking that, even in some pre-conservative states and public schools, not just students don't know much about China, but also teachers. I don't know what the teachers are learning in teachers' colleges. How many, really professors there are teaching them the real history. So that's why they are teaching our kids today. And some of them, I call them, most teachers are not good teachers, love kids, but some are social justice warriors. And they are diehard, social justice warriors wanted to teach, DEI, critical race theory, 1690, whatever the term you use, basically is to condemn their own country. It's a systemic racist country, and today and still, they want to focus on race, focus on skin color. White people are born racist, and it's all the same rhetorics I heard under Mao. Black class family are born black, and they are bad people. And the society is so divided, so you can fight each other. Black classes, which is under oppressors groups, and then red classes are under oppressed groups. So you got 10 classes of people are fighting each other and hating each other. And that's how I see American today. Like, who are trying to divide American people and want them to fight each other? Who are going to benefit? Why so many Americans are afraid? And I need to come out. It's like when you see your neighbor's house on fire, they don't know it. You got to go warn them to say, hey, your house is on fire. So, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to speak the truth and to the power, even though some people really don't like what I'm doing,
Oh yeah, I bet they really don't like it at all. You know, I have a couple of old school textbooks that I was referencing when I was writing my book. I bet that do teach about the dangers of communism because they used to teach that in schools. And I was thinking, getting ready for this chat, like I don't remember learning about China at all when I was in school. And I went to high school in I graduated high school in 1999. I didn't learn about it at all. And they've stopped teaching all of this. And to your point, teachers don't even know this. And one of the things that is really striking to me in having gone back and, read about the Cultural Revolution now is the weaponization of the youth. And I think we're seeing the weaponization of the youth in this country as well, where they're being indoctrinated from the time, I have Black Lives Matter curriculum on my laptop that starts in preschool. So they're being indoctrinated by the time they're 4 years old they're literally the Black Lives Matter curriculum. And this is being implemented in schools all over the place. They are literally teaching them the vocabulary around activism. And it is terrifying to look at because when you start that young, that is only to try to brainwash people in a way that's really hard to undo. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience and how that might parallel with what we're seeing now?
Yeah, by the time I went to government schools, China has no other schools except the government schools. The homeschool is banned today. So when I went to later, when Mao opened the school again, and after peak of the Cultural Revolution, and we had to chant. We hold a little mouth, read book, chant "Long live Chiang Mai-Mao, long live Party," and we were singing the red songs. And we will hate the black classes. We will hate the capitalism. Hate America. And the so-called imperialist country. Then we'll do our studies. And it was a very, very sensitive PC environment. And you cannot even talk about, Valentine's Day is coming up, so I cannot help to think about it. We could not even talk about love. Romantic love was a banned subject. You only can use love in a collective fashion. I love Mao. I love Party.
Wow.
And my parents are dear, but Chiang Mai-Mao is more dear. And we should be grateful that the Party saved us. And otherwise, we'll be starving to death like Taiwanese people. We got to liberate Taiwan. And all that indoctrination every day in your face. Mm-hmm. And every day it's about politics. And you cannot talk about anything else. And we went to school, like my parents went to job 6 days a week, went to school 6 days a week. There were no other, fun stuff to do. And to talk about really just no happiness as a child. And the only game I remember we played, we did not even have a toy because we're so poor. When they tell you communism is like utopian, everybody will be so happy and share everything. And everything is free. It's lie. They will never come. So I just remember I was starving. The only fun I had is playing with my friends, like push each other games down to the floor. And we were so poor, even could not have a radio. So then the school speaker, which we lived very close to my middle school, high school, their school speaker would come on 6:30 in the morning to say, here's the news and time to go to work, time to go to school. And long live Chiang Mai-Mao, it's like almost like a concentration camps when you think about it. And all the way until I went to college, we still have loudspeakers. You cannot even sleep in, so that's how I grew up. And so I see what's going on in this country. They almost they semi-religious indoctrination of the youth, like Red Guards. So Mao used Red Guard to achieve his Cultural Revolution goal, which is make him like a godlike supreme leader. And then he threw all his supporters under the bus, including Red Guards. Red Guards generation, like my uncles, aunts, are very sad. They have no skill, they have no job, no education. They wasted entire 10 years, their prime years of youth in a remote countryside, doing hard labor. And whenever I see today's social justice warriors, Antifa, BLM, those young people, I wish I could have a conversation with them to say, what, you remind me of my youth when I completely was youth indoctrinated and believe everything they told me. And then, my own life actually had no freedom, had no choices. I was very oppressed. I could not even say what's on my, brain. I had to self-censor. But it's the same thing happening today. Look at the cancel culture, right? You are guilty by association, and you are guilty by your past words and deeds. and they encourage you to draw line with your families. And we see that enough in the past 2 years. Turn family against each other and turn the neighbors against each other. Those are all our Mao's Cultural Revolution tactics. Now you know why I'm terrified. I have to run for Congress to tell my stories.